Good afternoon everyone. Goeiemiddag dames en here. Mweni, wamkelekile. Ons het nog nie begin met die seremonie nie. Hierdie is net die aankondigings voor die tyd. Just a few housekeeping announcements right before we start. As I said, welcome to this last doctoral graduation ceremony in our current series of 11 this week. Vanweer die nasionale COVID-19 regulasies en die universiteit se gesondheids- en veiligheidsprotokolle is hierdie geleentheid bietjie anders as ons gradeplegtighede gewoonlik. Due to COVID-19 regulations and our own protocols, this event by necessity has to be somewhat different from our regular ceremonies. Please therefore take note of the following. You've all been assigned specific seat numbers. Please don't change seats. We need you to stay in your seat assigned to you so that contact tracing can take place if necessary. The other thing to note is that while you would have been restricted in the number of guests that you could have invited. That's unfortunate, but we had to stick to regulations, and also the support staff, just the essential staff are here. So thank you very much for your understanding. This hall is thoroughly cleaned before and after each ceremony, so you can take some solace from that. The wearing of a mask is compulsory, mandatory for everyone, even as you cross the stage, for guests, for graduates, and for the staff here. The speakers won't wear the mask, they'll take it off to speak, but the microphones will be sanitized in between. Please maintain a safe distance from others at all times. The recommended distance is 1.5 meters. No food may be brought into or consumed in this venue. Only water is permitted inside. Now, to the ceremony itself, we won't be singing the national anthem, as is our custom. We'll just be listening to an instrumental rendition of it. And we'll do that as soon as the procession has entered the hall and the presiding officer has taken over. When we get to the awarding of degrees, you graduates will be called up onto the stage by your dean. And after the dean has introduced you, you will cross the stage, but you won't shake the hand of the presiding officer who will be sitting over there. And also the registrar normally hoods the recipients, but she won't be doing it this time. But you can walk up to the presiding officer, exchange nods, and turn around for your 15 seconds of fame. It's your moment, so have fun, and I'm sure the Chancellor will have a few more encouraging words to say in that regard. Members of the audience are also welcome to take photographs. Just switch off your cell phone sound and also the flash before you do so. In fact, keep your cell phone silent for the duration of the ceremony, please. The other thing to note is that you would have received a program. It's specific to this ceremony. Both groups of the faculty, their recipients are in here. This morning's group is on page 11, and this afternoon's group starts on page 17. Just a short synopsis of the research. At the conclusion of the ceremony, once the procession is left, we respectfully request that you exit the building and the hall and the building, and please take along any waste items such as water bottles or tissues, etc., when you leave the venue, and safely dispose of these outside in the bins. Please don't congregate in the foyer for selfies and photographs. Rather, exit the building and capture the moment outside with a beautiful Victoria Street as backdrop. The photographers, the official photographers, have also set up there outside, and you're welcome to make use of their services. The Marty Shop mobile unit is also there for purchasing Stellenbosch University branded items to remind you of the successful academic journey we are all celebrating with you today. Baie dankie vir die geduld, dames en here. Het is ons almal se belang om net vinnig hier deur te werk. Ladies and gentlemen, in this time of COVID-19, we have hybrid graduation ceremonies. So this one is one of 11, the last one, as I said, of 11 small physical ceremonies. The other degrees are this is just for the doctoral candidates, the other degrees are being conferred online in faculty-based ceremonies that have been pre-recorded and released on YouTube according to a predetermined schedule. And you're welcome to check the university's homepage for information in case you have family, friends involved in those. This ceremony is also being live streamed. So anyone, anywhere in the world can follow proceedings live. In case you did not know this or weren't aware, didn't tell your friends and family, now is the moment. Tell them to go to the university's webpage. The address is www.sun.ac.za, that's sun.ac.za/streaming. So laat weet gerus daai familie oor see. If we have load shedding, it's not likely, we haven't had any notice of that, but the internet connectivity and therefore also live streaming will be interrupted. But there will be a recording afterwards on the website, on the same streaming page from at least tomorrow, maybe even sooner. If there is load shedding, we will, however, be able to continue with this ceremony because we have a standby generator. And in that case, please just remain seated while the generator kicks in. You can also share your graduation experiences on social media. The hashtag we use is SUGrad. Just remember to keep your phone on silent. Ek wil net by hierdie laaste seremonie baie dankie sê aan al die ondersteunende personeel wat agter die skerms hard gewerk het om dit moontlik te maak. Al 12 seremonies, die 11 hier en die een in Saldanha. Thank you very much to the support staff making it all possible. And Justin, I see the dance and I'm sure you have some interesting moves in store for us later on, as is your custom. Dames en here, ons is bykans gereed om met die plegtigheid te begin. Ons vra dat u sal opstaan vir die akademiese prosesie en sal bly staan tot nadat ons die nasionale lied gesing het. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the academic procession and remain standing until after we have listened to the national anthem. Thank you. Baie dankie. Inkosi kakulu.
Goedemiddag, dankie vir die mooi glimlach. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We start with an instrumental version of our national anthem. Ons begin met die instrumentale weergawe van ons nasionale lied en die instrumentaliteit is natuurlik vanweë COVID. Ons sing nie saam nie. We do not join in singing the national anthem, merely our observance. Sal jy asseblief hier sitplekke inneem? Please be seated. Die enigste mag wat ek het as kanselier is om hierdie kongregasie byeen te roep, wat ek hiermee doen. I hereby declare that this congregation of the University of Stellenbosch is duly constituted. Hiermee verklaar ek dat hierdie kongregasie behoorlik gekonstitueer is. Voordat ons verder gaan, wil ek net vra dat ons elkeen op ons eie manier, net daar waar ons sit, vir net 'n paar oomblikke reflekteer. Let us have just some reflective moments, each in our own way, appropriate to our own belief systems, about two things. The one is about the terrible losses that so many of us have suffered. How many communities have suffered. People have lost jobs, they've lost livelihoods, they've lost loved ones. We have lost about probably 270,000 South Africans to COVID alone. Many more people have been ill and have recovered. So a moment of grief, but also a moment of quiet joy that we are able to be here this morning together. Thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, in Corsi. Dit is nou my genoeg om u almal welkom te heet. My naam is Edwin Cameron, ek is die kanselier. Dis die aangenaamste ding wat ek in my lewe tans doen. It's a great pleasure for me to welcome you here this afternoon. And this is our 11th graduation ceremony this week. I'll say a bit more about that in a moment. But that's also a very great joy. We pride ourselves in our commitment to multilingualism at Stellenbosch. En ons gaan nou vra dat u luister na 'n isiXhosa verwelkoming deur ons professor Mawande Dlali.
Molweni manene namanenekazi, siyanamkela kumsitho wothuso sidanga kule veki. Siyathemba ukuba olu suku luza kuba neenkumbulo ezinhle kwabo baza kube bethweswa izidanga kwiintsapho zabo kunye nezihlobo ngokubanzi. Manene namanenekazi, sizama ngako konke isinako ukubiza amagama abantu ngendlela efanelekileyo. Ndiqinisekile uDean nesekela lakhe bebezama ngako konke okusemandleni kuziqhelanisa noku, kodwa okuyinyani sinabo baza kube bethweswa izidanga, abasebenzi kunye neendwendwe ezivela kwindawo ngendawo ezahlukeneyo, ezineelwimi ezahlukeneyo, nezo zivela ngaphaya kwemida yaseMzantsi Afrika. Yiyo loo nto sicela ukuba nibe nenyameko kuba singakufumanisa kungumcelimngeni ukubiza amanye amagama kunye neefani. Enkosi.
Enkosi mfundisi. Ek wil aan u voorstel die mense wat saam met my op die podium is. Aan my regterkant is our rector and vice chancellor. I sometimes tease him because I was recently in Germany working for Stellenbosch, meeting foundations and industrialists and alumni there. And in Germany, the head of the university is called a rector magnificus. Don't you think it's appropriate for us here too? And to his right is our registrar, Dr. Renel Retief. On my left is Professor Eugene Kluti, a visie rector, en aan sy linkerkant is Professor Louise Warnick, wat julle almal ken. She's the Dean of Science. En dan het ons 'n baie spesiale persoon, maar sy is Skots. Vergewe vir my. Ek het myself net betyds reggestel. En u gaan later oor haar hoor, sy gaan 'n baie spesiale toekenning vanmiddag kry. So, let me return to what I mentioned. It's a wonderful delight for us to have you here, because when COVID hit us in the last week of March last year, we had to cancel the March-April graduations of last year. For December, we decided, unlike other universities, at Wits they cancelled all graduations. I know someone who was due to get her PhD on Monday the 13th at Wits. They cancelled the graduations entirely. What we decided was to brave it out. And I say we, when it really was Professor de Villiers and Dr. Retief and a committee that sat on a year ago, the night when President Ramaphosa imposed extra restrictions. Hulle het tot middernag gesit om uit te werk hoe ons nog kan voortgaan die volgende dag, wat ons toe wel gedoen het. We went ahead. And it's about you. The graduation is about the fact that you have attained the entitlement to be here, to have the conferral upon you of the university's highest academic honor, which is a doctoral degree. And it's a degree, dis 'n graad wat toegeken word alleen deur u oorspronklike bydrae aan menslike kennis en menslike insig, en ons glo ook aan menslike vordering. So it's very important, particularly at this time. I want to speak just a bit about how significant it is, scientific inquiry. I haven't yet heard what all of your subjects are. I'm looking forward to that. It's particularly important because we have contestation about truth in our country now. Vaccines, COVID. Do the COVID vaccines change our DNA? Yeah? Dankie. You see, I've got a doctor who's given me the answer. Of course not. We've been through this before. I have very deeply personal knowledge of this type of scientific skepticism. Unwarranted, unfounded, misplaced, life-imperiling, damaging, dumb scientific skepticism because of AIDS. We had it right up into President Mbeki's presidency. And when I started on antiretrovirals 24 years ago in November, so I'm celebrating in my 25th year of life-giving antiretrovirals, which are keeping the HIV virus in abeyance in my life. We had the same. We had people who were saying there's not a virus. If it is a virus, it doesn't cause AIDS. And if it does cause AIDS, these ARVs are toxic, exactly the same. They had to be taken to court by Zaki Ahmed and the Treatment Action Campaign. But behind them and the main affidavits, which were lodged in the Constitutional Court, I wasn't in the Constitutional Court at that time. I was only appointed about 6 years later. The main affidavits were by medical scientists and scientists like yourselves. So, long story, wat sê ek daarmee? I tell you why it's important for us to recognize your innovative research, but also to recognize what you've been through. And before we confer your degrees, I'm sure that you all would like very much to recognize your supervisors. Meneer die rector het ons met professor Barney afgespreek dat die studieleiers sal opstaan met elke. Uitstekend. We saw it at was an engineering graduation yesterday. So ek gaan elkeen opstaan. But let us collectively ask your supervisors to stand up together so that you can recognize them. So, baie dankie, dames en heren. So, it's also to recognize the persistence and the courage that each of you have shown. En die trane, het u trane gehad ooit in julle, u trane ook? So are you too masculine to admit tears? There are sometimes tears, I think so. Yes, thank you for acknowledging. All of us, great grief, and you made it here. It's a wonderful moment. When Professor Warnig calls you across, remember that we are live streaming and we are recording. Dis u oomblik. This is your moment. It's not for me, it's not for Professor de Villiers or the registrar, Professor Warnig or Professor Klütti. It's your moment. So acknowledge the camera right at the back up there. Acknowledge your loved ones. Take a moment. I've even persuaded 1 or 2 doctoral graduates to make a little dance. If you a dance will do, no? It's not compulsory, but if you want to, it's very welcome. Maybe you'll do it, sir. Maybe, you'll see. So what a joyful moment. What absolutely wonderfully joyful moment to see you all here.
Mr. Chancellor, I request you to acknowledge the following candidate who completed and graduated in March 2021 with a doctoral qualification. The candidate will cross the stage for ceremonial purposes only. Sisetu Gift Njokweni with dissertation exploring the carboxylate platform in the conversion of waste to green chemicals in South Africa, with supervisors Professor Emile van Zyl and Dr. Marlies Botha. Meneer die kanselier, ek versoek u om die graad dokter in die wysbegeerte in die fakulteit Natuurwetenskappe aan die kandidaate wat ek aan u voorstel verleen. Mr. Chancellor, I request you to confer on the candidates whom I'll present to you the degree Doctor of Philosophy in the Faculty of Science. Kaylin Bosch with dissertation, the role of nitrogen limitation in cryptococcal virulence and drug tolerance. The supervisor was Professor Alf Botha. Stefanie Cornelissen with dissertation defining the quantitative trait loci for chill requirement during dormancy and dormancy release in apple. The supervisor was Professor Johan Burger. Kaukurai Ismail Kangui with dissertation Southern African dust characteristics and potential impacts on the surrounding oceans. Supervision was provided by Dr. Susanna Fix. Jurgen Kriel with dissertation assessing autosis as a means of cell death induction in glioblastoma multiforme. The supervisor was Professor Ben Lewis. Nonkusele Madlakana with dissertation and investigation of Archean and Paleoproterozoic metamorphic processes in the Limpopo Belt via detailed analysis of reaction textures in metapellites from the Bandelier Kop Formation, southern marginal zone of the Limpopo Belt. The supervisor was Professor Gary Stevens. Ntombi Zanele Ntordana with dissertation analysis of aspects of starch metabolism in Fisco-Mitrella patents. The supervisor was Professor James Lloyd. Jake Mulvaney with dissertation, Landscape and Paleoclimatic Influences on the Genetic Population Structure of 4 forest-dependent passerines in the Eastern Cape Province of South Africa. The supervisor was Professor Michael Cherry. Jani van Gent with dissertation investigating the relationship between saline groundwater, heveltjies, and climate change in the Buffels River catchment, South Africa. Supervisor was Professor Jody Miller. Meneer die kanselier, ek versoek u om aan die kandidaate wie se name ook aan u voorgelê is, maar wat nie hier teenwoordig is nie, die onderskeie grade in hulle afwesigheid te verleen. Mr. Chancellor, I request you to confer the degrees on those candidates whose names have been presented to you, but who could not attend in their absence.
Hiermee verleen ek aan die kandidaate wie se name aan my voorgelê is, maar wat nie kan bywoon nie, hulle onderskeie grade in Absentia. I hereby confer on those candidates whose names have been placed before me, but who are unable to attend, their degrees in absentia.
Meneer die kanselier, dames en here, dit is 'n uitstaande kenmerk van instellings wat op uitmuntende prestasie ingestel is, dat verskillende vlakke en vorme van erkenning aan uitmuntende presteerders gebied word. In die konteks van die Universiteit Stellenbosch sluit dit onder andere kanselierstoekennings in, wat fokus op volgehoue uitmuntendheid in navorsing en of leer en onderrig en of gemeenskapsinteraksie en of administrasie. Mr. Chancellor, ladies and gentlemen, an outstanding feature of institutions that focus on excellent performance is that excellent achievers receive acknowledgement on different levels and in different ways. In the context of Stellenbosch University, this recognition includes the Chancellor's Award. Which focus on sustained excellence in research and or learning and teaching and or community interaction and or administration. In my responsibility center, which is for research, innovation and postgraduate studies, the Chancellor's Award for 2021 is awarded to Ms. Ingeray Scholes. I have the pleasure in presenting the following motivation in respect of the recipient. Ms. Scholes se loopbaan getuig van volgehoue uitnemendheid, haar toegewyde en noukeurige benadering tot haar werk het die IS gehelp om navorsing by die instelling suksesvol tot hoër prestasievlakke te voer. Haar uitstekende kennis van die universiteit en goeie verhoudings met verskeie rolspelers het die werksaamhede van die kantoor van die Vice-Rektor Navorsing, Innovasie en Nagraadse Studie aansienlik verbeter. Over the years, her expertise and agility have earned her 5 Rectors Awards for general performance. With 12 years of service to different managers in the Rectorate, and I must add, for the past 9 years in my office as my personal assistant, Ms. Scholes is an example of the kind of talented staff that the university seeks to recruit as per its Vision 2040. Mr. Vice-Chancellor, I request you to present the Chancellor's Award of Excellence to Ms. Ingeray Scholes.
Was dit nie te kort nie? Wasn't that too quick? We'll start again. You sure? It was absoluut jeugdig, a great delight. I got my degrees at Stellenbosch a very long time ago, and some of my most impressionable memories, some of my deepest connections, some of my most important friends and associates and political allies and legal colleagues I met here at Stellenbosch all those years ago. You are important these years with you at Stellenbosch, particularly the difficulty that you went through, will remain marked in you, and the associations that you formed will remain marked in you. Go to martiesconnect.com, where you will find that you can connect with other Stellenbosch graduates, where you can put up your own qualifications, look for jobs, see what other people are doing, and stay in touch with us. We also want you to be alumni. Daar is 'n konvokasie waar u elkeen 'n stem het, waar u kan kies wie is die konvokasievoorsitter, wie is die konvokasieverteenwoordiger op die raad. We encourage you to exercise that entitlement. And now I want to ask you to reflect on all the people who helped you apart from your supervisors, those loved ones, partners, families, children, friends who really made it possible for you to be here today. I'm going to ask you to stand up again and look up at the camera and wave to them so that, take off your masks so that you can be seen. I think we've got enough social distancing. And let's greet your beloved family and friends and persons who have helped you. Baie dankie. Thank you very much. Well, now we have reached the end, and since you refused to go across the stage again, I must now exercise my second power as Chancellor. This is a ceremonial position, but I do have two powers to convene and to dissolve. Hiermee verklaar ek dat hierdie kongregasie van die Universiteit Stellenbosch behoorlik gekonstitueer en nou op 'n einde gebring is. I hereby declare that this congregation has been duly dissolved. May I ask that as we leave the stage, you rise and that you remain standing until we've left. Thank you so much. Thank you.